Hello, my name's Ethan, and here today I'm going to finally admit on camera that I have a problem. I've got many vehicles in my possession. I think there's maybe 13, 14, 15 at this point, and most of them are crap. Most of them are garbage cars that I bought for not a whole lot of money. Most of them were projects. Most of them have some pretty serious issues. And I'm just finally realizing many years later that there's no way I could ever get to all these projects. I took on a lot of these cars with good intentions. I wanted to fix them up, wanted to preserve them, and especially some of the weirder vehicles that I have, some of the more obscure vehicles that I've had, wanted to keep a lot of these cars from going to the crusher. So sure, yes, I've kept a lot of cars from the crusher by just sitting in my yard, kind of sitting under car covers. Doesn't necessarily mean that car is any better off than it was when I first got it. Let's just take a look around here, shall we? Liam Nissan, still sitting under a tarp. Haven't done anything with that in over a year. My Porsche 944 Turbo, at least I have a car cover on it so the paint's not getting ruined, but I haven't driven that in about 6 months. My Jeep YJ, it needs new tires, it needs a lot of stuff. We're using it to store dog toys, apparently. Yeah, I haven't done anything with that. In fact, I haven't even had a chance to clean it out. It's still a disaster in here. Now let's walk over to the other side of my yard. My Toyota Previa, I have done absolutely nothing with this other than drive it occasionally. All right, so here's one that I've actually made progress with, my 98 Subaru Legacy. I've done a lot of work to this one. It's running great. I still want to lift it. I still want to make it into an off-road fun toy, but at least this one doesn't have that many problems. Well, actually, now that I think about it, most of the doors don't open, the trunk doesn't open, it leaks a ton of oil. So yeah, okay, even the best of my cars still is kind of a piece of crap. You probably just saw my video on my Grand Am. This is actually in pretty decent shape, but like everything, I know that there's going to be an issue that will pop up, an issue that I don't even know about yet. This is my wife's Prius. It generally runs fine. It's starting to have some issues with like clear coat flaking off. But other than that, there's not really any issues with that. But I won't even count that one because that's my wife's car. Apparently she takes better care of her cars than I do. Okay, so maybe things aren't quite as bad as they seem because my flare side, this is in pretty good shape. I can't actually think of anything that's wrong with this one. I shouldn't say that too loudly because knowing my car karma, this is probably just not gonna start the next time I try to drive it. This is the grandparents' car. This one runs good too. Obviously, if it's running good, it's probably not mine. Over here is my dad's old Tacoma. This has issues too. You wouldn't think an old Tacoma would have that many issues, but it does. The AC compressor seized and shredded the belt. It's got a massive, massive rear diff leak. And yes, it's very rusty because it came from Massachusetts. Yeah, this car has issues too. And if I didn't already have enough vehicles in my yard, my parents have been storing their RV here. And then, of course, the infamous purple Ford Probe. This car is a disaster. I haven't done anything with it yet because this is probably the car that has the most issues in my collection at this point. It's just sort of been sitting here. I can't get rid of it because the color, is that kind of a stupid reason to keep a car? But I love the color of this thing. It actually was a ton of fun to drive when it was running properly. I think it was only running properly for about 6 or 7 minutes, but those 6 or 7 minutes were glorious. And there's actually a few cars that are not here at the moment. My favorite car, my Chevy Nova Twin Cam, is at the shop. It's having a ton of work done to it because I realized that I'm never gonna get around to it myself. New timing belt, new wheel bearings. Also my 99 Acura Integra, I'm having a new front bumper put on it. I'm having the bumpers painted, the rear bumper painted, and having a bunch of door dings removed from that car. So as you can see, owning multiple very old vehicles is a terrible idea. It's a terrible, terrible idea. So much stress, so much grief. Unless you can spend every waking hour fixing these things, it doesn't make any sense for anybody other than a YouTuber. So please, please don't do this. Enough of this garbage, me feeling awful, but I'm glad to finally admit that I really do have a problem and I need to sell off a lot of this crap. I bought a lot of these cars for this YouTube channel thinking, oh yeah, it'd be great, let's buy a lot of cars and everybody can enjoy watching me suffer through trying to keep them all running. And it's provided me with a lot more suffering than I thought it would. So yeah, I gotta sell a few of these things. But anyway, today we're gonna talk about my 2005 Scion Xb. This was actually the first new car that I ever bought back in 2005. We've had it for a long time, 225,000 miles on the thing. You might remember I made a video with this, oh geez, probably over a year ago now, about how bad the paint was. So I brought it to a paint shop, they painted it, they did a terrible job, there's tons of orange peel, and then I just kind of let the car sit again because I didn't really know what to do with it. I didn't want to put it back together until I made sure that the paint was looking really good. The paint is not looking good. Right now it's covered with dust and dirt. So I want to make some progress with this car. Yeah, it's just a little Econobox, but it's one of my most favorite vehicles that I've ever owned. I know it sounds weird, just a little box on wheels, but I love this thing. We've had a lot of memories in this car. We've driven it everywhere. It's just been a really great, reliable vehicle. I want to keep this car going. I want to try to turn this into something that we can actually drive again, but actually feel pretty proud driving the thing and not feel like we're just driving a hunk of garbage like most of my cars. So enough of all that. Let's get this thing off to the paint shop. So the plan is going to be to have the body shop wet sand the paint and polish it and really kind of make that paint shine and get rid of some of that orange peel because it just looks awful. This paint job, I paid a ton of money for it. They did a terrible job. So I'm gonna go to the same place that painted my Stanza wagon. They did a really good job with that car. And the other thing I realized, I'm never gonna get around to putting this back together myself, so I'm gonna have them do it. I know it's kind of the cheap way out. I know it's the lazy way out, but I have a lot of other needy vehicles that I need to tend to. So I'm gonna have the paint shop handle this whole process. All right, so let's get the car over there and hopefully I'll have one more vehicle that I can actually drive. Crazy idea, huh? Vehicles that you can actually drive, vehicles that aren't just like sitting around broken. What a crazy idea. But first, I think I'm gonna have to make 2 trips because I have driven this car with all this stuff in it, but it's very difficult. You can't even really get to the shifter. You can't see anything out the back. There are no mirrors at the moment. I think I'm gonna load some stuff up in the truck and bring some things over there separately.
The next day.
All right, so it's been over a year since I started restoring my Scion Xb. I haven't driven it regularly since the end of 2019. So this is a long time coming. I'm super excited about what you're going to see right here. It came out really good. So without further ado, here's my fully repainted, put back together 2005 Scion Xb. It looks pretty good, right? I mean, just look at that shine. It looks awesome. I don't even know if it was this shiny when it was new. I know this is just a Scion Xb. There's not a whole lot of demand for these cars. As I've mentioned in previous videos, these are pretty much at the bottom of the depreciation curve. This car, even with its nice paint job, is probably only worth a few $1,000s. I'm hoping that at some point those values start to go up as people realize how cool these cars are, how spacious they are on the inside, how unique they are. So I had them go through and wet sand and polish this paint to try to get rid of some of that orange peel. Now they did a pretty good job. They got rid of a lot of it, but there's only so much they can do because that original paint job, you know, just really wasn't that good. But when you step back, that polish job really helped make this look a whole lot better. And the other extremely important thing they did for me was put this all back together because it had sat in my garage for so long, I just wasn't gonna get around to it. Which sucks because this is one of my favorite cars that I've ever owned, so it was really kind of sad to have it just sit in the garage in pieces. So I'm super glad that this is back together. I'm super glad that I can actually drive this vehicle again. Not only does it have a lot of sentimental value, it's actually quite useful with all of that space in the back. So yeah, in general, very happy with the shop, but with any work that I do to my cars, there's always some issue. It just seems to happen to me. So there's a couple things I need to go back and have them take care of. They forgot to paint the fog light covers. And it's funny because the first paint shop that I brought this car to also forgot to paint those. So 2 shops in a row forgot to paint these. So I'm gonna bring them back and they'll pop these off and paint them. They did a really good job painting this grille, which if you remember from my previous video, the old shop forgot to paint that. That looks really nice. Brand new headlights. I thought about kind of polishing and cleaning up the old ones, but they were really, really bad. And these were really, really cheap. So those are looking really good. And then down here, I'm missing a couple little trim pieces on the bumper. I honestly can't remember if I gave them to the shop or not, or if I was just missing those. I'll have to call them and see if they have those or not. Otherwise, I can find those on eBay. One other small detail, looks like they forgot to put the nozzles back on for the windshield washers. And then I just need to double check. I can't remember if there's supposed to be a trim piece right here. I feel like there is. I'm gonna have to look at some pictures of some other Scions to see if for some reason they forgot to put that back on or not. Let's see what else. There's a couple tiny things. This mirror is not quite aligned right. They just need to pop that out and put it back in. There's another little thing right here. Tiny scrape and a little dent. Honestly, have no idea when that happened. I don't know if it happened at the first shop, if it happened in my garage, or if it happened at the second shop. I'm not sure, but that's kind of a bummer to have a brand new paint job and tiny scratch there. I could probably just get away with a little bit of touch-up paint. It'd probably be fine. So one other issue is down here. You can see that there is no inner fender liners. I actually bought some on eBay and they said that they wouldn't fit. They said that I had to go try to find fender liners from the dealer. I don't even know if I could find those, but apparently the aftermarket ones that I got from eBay were not a good fit and did not line up at all. So no fender liners at the moment. Oh, and then this happened when I was taking the windshield wipers apart. They're kind of broken. This one does not sync with the other one. So yeah, I won't drive it in the rain for a little bit. Yeah, so a couple minor details that they'll take care of. But the crazy thing is that they got this done in about a day. It's nuts to completely wet sand and polish the car and to put it all back together. You saw all those parts that I brought them. They even put the doors back together. I didn't expect them to do that. I thought I was gonna have to do that, but they ended up piecing the doors back together, which was nice. So yeah, super happy with this. I'm glad that I have this car back. I'm so thankful that it still runs well, even with 225,000 miles on it. I know, again, doesn't make any sense at all to put this much money and this much time and effort into a car that's not worth anything, that has that many miles, but I love this little box. All right, so you might be asking, what's next for my Scion Xb other than just getting out and driving the thing? One look at this car and you can kind of see that the one area that needs the most attention are the wheels and the tires. Now, when I purchased this vehicle new way back in 2005, one of the first things I did was remove the wheel covers because I actually really like the look of black steel wheels, and I drove it around like this for over a decade. But it's kind of funny. It seems like nowadays black wheels are becoming less and less in favor. I kind of still like black wheels, especially on a dark car. I like this kind of that blacked out look, but I'm looking for opinions. I kind of want to know what you would do with this vehicle. Now, I don't want to slam it to the ground, but I would consider coilovers to lower it a tiny bit. I don't want gigantic wheels. I don't want to stance the thing, but I do think I want to do something a little bit different than just the stock steel wheels. Now, the stock steel wheels on this car are 15 inches, and I've seen people go all the way up to 17s with this car. There's not a whole lot of space under here. I don't want to go too crazy. I do want a little bit of sidewall so that it's not a punishing ride. So I was thinking maybe 16s, maybe coilovers with a slight drop. I don't know. What do you think? The other thing I could do is just nothing and leave it stock and paint these wheels. Definitely needs new tires though. These are all dry rotted. I let the car sit too long. But anyway, let me know what you think. What would you do to the wheels and tires? Because honestly, I have no idea. I need some opinions. All right, I think that's gonna be it for today. More updates on my XB coming soon. If you like this video and you wanna see more like it, please consider subscribing and hitting that bell icon so you can get notified of all my new car reviews, used car reviews, and updates on my fleet of old, worthless vehicles like this XB. If you wanna help support the show, please consider buying a Hello Road t-shirt, kinda like my Nissan Pulsar NX Sportback shirt right here. If you're into podcasts about old vehicles and you wanna hear me blab at you even more than I'm doing right now, please consider checking out the Hello Road podcast. There's a link above that you can go and subscribe to our channel and check out all of the episodes that we've got. We've got over 50 episodes so far. A lot of good interviews, a lot of good topics. Check it out. All right, thanks so much for watching. I hope you're well, and I'll see you soon. Stop.